So in this episode of Film Stock Reviews, I'm reviewing episode 5 of House of the Dragon, titled We Light the Way. Now basically the episode starts off with Daemon Targaryen paying a visit to his estranged wife, Rhea, in the Vale. We're finally going back to the Vale after, quite some time within this Game of Thrones universe. He startles the horse, she falls off, she breaks her collarbone or her arm evidently, and then he, in a metaphorically way which is edited into the show in a pristine, precise way, he kills her by bashing her head into the rock, which edits into the next scene of a fish's head being chopped off. And we see House Targaryen going to House Valerian, where Rhaenyra is marrying, I want to say it's her cousin, if I'm not mistaken. The big aspect in this is that there is another wedding in the Game of Thrones universe. It's Westeros wedding, or whatever you want to call it. And we know the history about weddings in the Game of Thrones universe. You had the Red Wedding, you had the wedding where King Joffrey dies as he's poisoned, and you have this one. But this one takes place 200 years before all the events from Game of Thrones. We find that Alicent is seeing her father off, Otto, after he was, renounced of his duties from the king. Alicent says it's not right, and she says that she doesn't want that to happen because she's queen. Well, Otto's like, listen, you know that your stepdaughter wants to be queen somehow, and you have to make sure that your son, Aegon, my grandson, somehow becomes king. We know the king is dying slowly, and Viserys is really adamant about certain things, and it's just interesting to see in a way, because we see the king dying. He has some sort of illness that we don't know about, but we see what's happening. If you've read the books, then you understand what's actually happening in this story. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the interaction between Otto and his daughter, Alicent. It's an aspect of the father-daughter bonding and trying to take over in a way. While that's happening, we go into the wedding. There are some tidbits and aspects that really don't matter between certain scenes. The king is just laying there dying, but somehow he has to attend the wedding of his daughter. Meanwhile, something else is happening. Now, in an interesting thing, Alicent comes into the wedding reception and makes a grand late entrance, wearing the colors of her family, green. And it's really interesting because people see this and notice this, because she's going against the king for what he did to her father. She's like, I'm sorry I'm late, I didn't mean to, interrupt anything. But the way she says it was really, really interesting. Now, Sir Criston Cole, who evidently is in love with Rhaenyra, in all his armor, gets into an altercation with the velvet-clad Joffrey Loudmouth. You haven't heard the name Joffrey in a very, very long time in the Game of Thrones universe. Now, while that's happening, things don't go well for him, and because you should never get into weddings if your name is Joffrey. Farewell to this guy, because he gets the shit pummeled out of him in a brutal fight by Sir Criston Cole, now which is Eleanor's boyfriend. So they kind of have a love thing going on. I don't mind that, that's all, it's a love story. If it keeps moving, then it moves on, but it doesn't. So Criston Cole goes out to the garden, evidently, and is going to commit suicide, but Alicent stops him. All the while, Rhaenyra is getting married, and then the king collapses. And then we pull back, and we see the blood of Joffrey on the floor with a mouse, I believe, tasting the blood. That's the end of the episode. So we are halfway through this first season of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. The interesting thing about this is that it's a very talkative show. A lot of dialogue, not much action, but when they do have action, it's grand, it's epic. When they do have shocks, twists, and turns, it's also grand and epic. And of course, a wedding. You have a wedding in the Game of Thrones universe, something's going to happen. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And something did interesting happen. Now, the first 5 episodes were really interesting and really good. We're at the halfway point, like I said. Now, the thing is, in the teaser for episode 6, we saw that everyone now is older. Alicent, Rhaenyra. Everybody else is getting older more. The king is dying, you can tell. And I do want to say that the aspect of Paddy Considine playing this role is absolutely phenomenal. Like, unbeknownst to me, like, great acting. I'm hoping we see Otto Hightower again, because Rhys Ifans is a phenomenal actor. We're definitely going to get more of Daemon, Matt Smith's character. But we don't know what's going to happen. What's he going to do? And how will this season end? It's already been renewed for a second season, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in all the aspects of how everything plays out. So let me know in the comment section below what you thought about episode 5 of House of the Dragon titled We Light the Way. Remember, we are at the halfway point of this first season. Anything can happen, anything's possible. Total of 10 episodes in this first season. It's going to be interesting, but people keep coming back every week to check out what's going to happen. And it's only going to get more and more better, and maybe even more interesting. Are they going to follow the books? Will they change a few things just for that shock factor and shock value? And they really need to give us a timeline of how many years have passed. Because if they don't, it's very confusing as to how long it's been. I mean, maybe hopefully in the second season they do that, but in the first season it's very confusing at times. I think, and if not mistaken, if you can correct me on this, in the books they give us a time of how many years have passed between certain aspects of what's going on. But with the show right now, nothing. We don't even know. Like, all of a sudden between episodes 1 through 4, what is it? They say 6 to 8 years have passed? That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And it's just crazy to think that. So let me know in the comment section below what you think is going to happen in the rest of this season. And if you're looking forward to seeing what's happening. Let me know in the comment section below about all the questions I just asked. And I'll see you all in the next review video. And be sure you tune in next week for my episode 6 review of House of the Dragon.